Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. My name's Doug Cunnington, and in this interview, I talked to Adam Greenfeld. Adam is one of the co-founders at a company called Find My Formula, and it's a nootropics company. In fact, I learned about Find My Formula from a student of mine who said that they were using it and really enjoyed the product. So I have been dabbling a little bit myself, and I just took the Clarity formula here, and it seems to be helpful as far as speaking. So hopefully I will hold it together. It was cool to connect with Adam because basically I used the product, I really enjoyed it, and I thought I want to talk to some experts about it, which is one of the luxuries I have with the podcast and YouTube channel. If I want to talk to someone, I can usually just email them, and if it's a reasonable request, they will talk to me. So Adam was gracious enough to spend some time with me, and we talk a little bit about how he got into biohacking in general and then eventually found his way over to Find My Formula and why he started the company along with his partner. We also talk about fasting. We talk about biohacking in general. We talk about cold showers and a lot of other stuff. We go off on a few tangents here as well, and I'm a little disappointed in myself. I totally missed the shrinkage joke, the obvious shrinkage joke with the cold showers, but maybe it's better that I didn't mention it during the interview. So let's head over to the interview now with Adam, and I will be doing a review on Find My Formula and like my impression of the product. I've already gone through like 1 month of the formulas and kind of have an impression on what I enjoy taking, and that's what the other video will be about. Now, I'm an affiliate for Find My Formula, so if you make a purchase through my link, then I get a commission, but you also get a discount. So I'll put up the information in the description and show notes so you can get to that, of course, and you could check out findmyformula.com and see if it's something you're interested in. So let's talk to Adam now. Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and I am sitting with Adam Greenfeld. How are you today, Adam?
Doing well, Doug, man. Pumped to be here.
So, Adam, I reached out to you because I'm a customer. I brought and it's a little out of focus here, but I will show the proper image. But I'm a customer, and I was like, hey, this is a great product. I've been using Find My Formula for about a month. I'm almost done with my first month, and I'm really enjoying it. So I just sent you a cold email. I guess I'm a customer, but I was like, hey, you want to join me? And you said yes. So this is great. Can you give a little intro on yourself and, the company?
Yeah, so Formula is the world's first personalized nootropics company. Nootropics is a word, an umbrella term that is being used now to categorize any type of supplement or something that you take in your mouth that makes your brain work better. So we are the first company to take a personalized approach to that. My partner, Dan, studied neuroscience at Yale, and while he was there, one big understanding that he learned was everyone's brain is entirely unique. And so when it comes to putting together techniques and protocols and strategies for improving brain function, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The only way is through customization and personalization. So 2 years ago, we decided it's the first issue that we had to tackle was data. 2 years ago, we started what became the world's largest semi-blind 4-way crossover trial ever done on nootropics. We've tested hundreds of ingredients on thousands of participants, collected millions of data points. That is now a recommendation engine. That is the core of our company. So, Doug, you came on, you took a 4-minute survey. That was basically your answers were then compared against thousands of others with similar profiles. And then we suggested certain mixes of ingredients that you should be trying. We sent you those in daily pill packs. Mm-hmm. And now we can speak really honestly about if it works or not.
Right. In some pre-interview conversation, this is not going to be a whole ad for your company, by the way. But
Yeah,
we're
I don't want it to be.
we're gonna get into it. But in some of the pre-interview questions and just us shooting the shit, really, I was like, my productivity has been up a lot, unquantifiable like directly, but I threw out 4x, and part of it is, out of necessity of me having to get certain things done, but like I have 100% been able to focus better, and I feel better too. So kudos, and again, that's why we're talking, because I did enjoy the product.
Yeah, and like, listen, probably the reason that I'm here is I spend a lot of time as a quote unquote, some people call it biohacker, right? Like, I'm basically a guy who is totally obsessed with performing at superhuman levels and want to do it in as little time and as little effort as possible, while being safe and not nerding out too much.
Sure.
Right. So all of my spare time is spent listening to podcasts, reading books, talking to doctors, experimenting on myself. It's like a 50-year journey, trying to find things that make me perform really efficiently at work, make me really strong at the gym, and keep me in like just a really euphoric mood all the time. Now, those are like really bold claims, and I haven't gotten there yet, but I have this very clear picture of like what I want my life to be. So I experiment with a bunch of things. So maybe we'll be able to like share some techniques and like some things that have worked for me, some things that haven't worked, some things that I'd like to try, stuff like that.
Right. Well, and before we get into that, like the specific stuff, like you said that you've been into biohacking for a long time. So tell me about that story. Like, how did you get into it? Why?
I'm not sure, but in some ways, like I think it just came from this idea of just being hyper competitive with myself and with other people. And I'm not really gifted in anything, right? I'm not incredibly intelligent. I'm 5'8", 165 pounds soaking wet. Like, I'm not a big dude. But I've always been like really strategic from the time I was like 6 years old. And so, I would growing up, I would watch movies, like superhero movies, and like honestly think like I can do that, whether it was cognitively or performance wise. So I always had a lot of self-discipline. So like the caveat with all of the stuff that we'll probably talk about is that I do have a lot of self-discipline, right? I am able to get myself to really, I'm good at like saying no to eating stuff. I can push myself. I have pretty high pain tolerances when it comes to like working out and training and things along those lines. So I do understand that that doesn't always apply to everyone. But one thing is like just this hyper competitiveness that neither of my parents had, right? My parents are not competitive individuals by any means. I have no idea where it came from, but I've always been, I grew up this crazy sports fan and always really wanting to win and always looking for ways to do that faster and quicker.
Gotcha. Did you have siblings?
I do. I have an older sister who is also not that competitive. I have no idea where this thing came from.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, you probably know some folks that are they're like the youngest male, and they got 4 older brothers, and they're just like, they had to be competitive. But okay. Well,
no, my parents are like these like hippies from upstate New York.
Right on, right on. And by the way, where are you located? Where's the company located?
We're in Manhattan, in New York. Manhattan, New York.
Very cool. Very cool.
Right now we're like just on Union Square. If anyone's familiar with Manhattan, we're right around Union Square.
Nice.
Downtown. Beautiful sunny day here.
So, like, your background. Well, actually, I'll ask an open-ended question. What's your background? How did you get pulled into the company and stuff like that? Or was it your idea, or tell me?
So, I mentioned before, I have a partner, Dan. He's got an incredible story. Hopefully you'll spend some time with him as well and he can tell it. My background is, this is actually my second startup in this space. So I've spent the last few years trying to build nootropic biohacking companies. Before that, I was like a serial startup guy, right? I was in real estate tech. We had started a couple fashion tech companies. Before that, I worked in pro sports from like a um, working career wise. And just always on like the marketing and sales side. Um, One big company that I did all of my 20s and then startups into my 30s. But from like a health background standpoint, grew up as an athlete. As I said, always hyper competitive. Um, Started working out when I was probably in my late teens, and have carried that ever since. So nutrition, um, performance, strength, speed has always been like a big thing to me. 15 years.
Awesome. Cool. So let's get into some of the nitty gritty on nootropics here. And you fed me a couple questions, so I'm just going to start with a couple of those. We'll be transparent, and these are good questions, so I'm just going to use them straight up.
Yeah.
So what is, quote, brain optimization, and why is it important? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. Um, the the problem that we're trying to solve is just like this constant problem that people have of like constantly hazy, never clear. This brain fog. We try a million things to try to get rid of it. Sometimes it manifests as just feeling off or feeling a little bit moody. Sometimes it's like you can't channel the right words in big situations. Sometimes it's like this need to, you need to be creative and new ideas are coming your way. Um, at its core, scientifically speaking, like there's a malfunctioning or an improper use of the neurotransmitters in your brain. These itty bitty chemicals in your brain that just aren't communicating correctly. And so at its core, brain optimization is doing things or doing small actions in your life that vastly increase how well these itty bitty neurotransmitters work. Nootropics, more specifically, um, literally tells your brain to use a higher percentage of them,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yes. And do you have a like go-to analogy for people that maybe got lost in what you were saying, where it's like, maybe go ahead, you have one.
Um, in terms of brain optimization,
Yeah, it's like greasing the wheels on a squeaky, something with wheels or something.
yeah, like a cognitive pick me up. I would say anytime that you just need a cognitive pick me up, I would think of that as brain optimization. There are a couple movies that were made, which aren't always so great for companies like mine. One was a movie called Limitless. Another one was a movie called Lucy. And the tough side of movies like that is if no one has seen them, I highly suggest you see them. They're two of my favorite movies. Um, the the tough side of movies like that is they set these really high expectations for what, you know, supplements like ours can do.
Right.
They don't. So whatever you saw in those movies, that's not what we do. However, what it does is it paints this beautiful picture of how powerful the human brain can be and how many amazing things it actually can do. Um, if I do nothing else in my career, um, other than painting a picture and allowing people to see, even for an instant, how powerful and capable the human brain can be, it's incredible. Most of us go through our entire lives just like perpetually tired, perpetually frustrated, perpetually hazy, kind of with this like fog. When in reality, like imagine you could take that away and how clear and this constant flow of ideas and productivity could be. And so that's basically what we're trying to do in the brain optimization space.
Got it. And going back, I guess, like to the original, like sort of question, coffee would count as a nootropic. You take it or you drink it, and then potentially the caffeine helps you, come out of that haze a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of us have had, in one way, shape, or form, experience with something underneath this nootropic umbrella. Underneath this umbrella is everything from caffeine, nicotine, B vitamins, um, even like MCT oil is probably underneath that umbrella, all the way up to, some more pharmaceutical based things. We've all heard of Adderall and Ritalin and Vyvanse. Some people even categorize the more heavily like policed things like psilocybin and LSD underneath this umbrella. So yeah, I mean, anything that you can take that tweaks brain function arguably would be considered a nootropic.
Got it. Okay. So, and let's start narrowing it down into sort of like my audience, right? So, Niche Site Project is a lot of affiliate marketers. It's people who are a lot of times professionals who have a day job. Actually, this is generally my story, right? So, I had a day job. Working 10, 12-hour days, potentially a commute in there at the time in the Atlanta area, so bad traffic. So that's burning a lot of my time. And I wanted to work on side projects, these affiliate marketing sites, right? And I couldn't carve out the time anywhere else aside from like my sleep, which I like to sleep, and I do know a lot of the haze that you're talking about that I experienced in the past was, in fact, just not getting enough sleep. And if I'm well rested, like I'm in pretty good shape, but I was burning the candle at both ends, waking up at 4 a.m., getting maybe probably like 5 to 6 hours per night on most nights, working on weekends, and like just trying to, chase my dream, right? And I got by. I was fueled by, I think, a lot of alcohol and caffeine, at the right times of day. But that is a lot of my audience. And I wonder from like a holistic view, like, I mean, obviously sleep's important, but if that's the only place someone can get it, like, how would you guide them for, getting enough sleep or getting just enough sleep, carving out the time, in being productive with or without nootropics?
Totally. Yeah, let's start without nootropics. Like, what's everything that you should be doing before you get to nootropics? Or at something. So I think there might be a misconception that in order to get a lot of things done in your day, you can't sleep. And I only say that because I spent 12 years of my life like fully subscribed to this, right? I was living this New York hustler lifestyle where the only way that I could justify a successful day is if I was up at 4:30, I was in the gym by 5:30, I was at the office until 9, 10, 11, was going out, like I lived that. And I thought that I just had to be grumpy all the time, right? I would challenge someone to say, and even, and even I hear it a lot because there were guys like, I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I just do. A lot of us probably do. For many years, Gary was the, sleep when you're dead, like work your day job till 7, work your secondary job till 2. Even Gary now is saying like, no, like you need to sleep. Just look at what you can do to be the most productive during your waking hours. So for me personally, and there's a lot of science to back this up, I have now made 7 hours head on pillow a non-negotiable. I can also tell you quantifiably that the amount of work that I get done from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, even though there are fewer hours that I'm awake now, I get way more done. Why? Because I'm sleeping 7 hours, and for some people, A lot of research shows, like I don't even want to start to say like some people are 6 hour people and some people are 8 hour people. There's a doctor named Matthew Walker who was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's like my favorite sleep guy. He wrote an incredible book. And like he has a lot of data to back up that there's very few people on planet Earth that can function at optimal levels underneath 7 hours. So I'm not going to be like, hey, you might be a 6 hour person. You're not a 6 hour person. You're at least a 7 hour person. You might be an 8 or an 8.5 hour person, but the likelihood is that you're a 7 hour person. At least I'm a 7 hour person. So I would challenge you for 7 days. If you're someone who has to go to sleep at 1 and has to wake up at 5, and you're wondering why you're cranky all day, or you're wondering why you have these crazy fits of like mind wandering, or you just like stare at your computer and you can't get work done, and it's just like you have like this feeling of like you can't control your brain, like your brain's doing whatever it wants. It's been 7 days, 7 hours. It would be a very valuable experiment just to see how much stuff you're getting done in those waking hours. So committing 7 hours. The second thing is how much deep sleep you're getting within those 7 hours. Now there's a lot of like self-quantified tools now out there that measure your deep sleep, measure your sleep quality. You have Oura Ring, you have the Whoop band. I have friends who do both. I've experimented with them both. I don't use any of them now. Some things that I can say about sleep. One is the colder it is in your room, the deeper generally you're going to sleep. So there's a couple techniques there. One, like my AC is down really low. I'm at like 64, 65 degrees in my room.
That's nice.
Two is on nights where I know I need really good sleep quality, I'll take a cold shower before I go to bed. Basically what it starts to do is like drops my body temperature. And then 3 is I just don't use really heavy blankets. Because you really want to be cold. That's going to drop you into deeper sleep. 2, a lot of people talk about light exposure. I can say that limiting the amount of blue light exposure within 2 hours of going to sleep has really led to much better sleep quality for me. So the way that I do that is so I don't use my computer after 10 o'clock. That's like a hard stop. There's also obviously like Lux or Flux. So there's apps where you can start where the computer automatically limits the amount of blue light that it emits as you get later at night. Same on my phone, as I limit and then I honestly just try to put my cell phone down an hour before I go to sleep. Fully transparent, it doesn't really work because I'm kind of addicted to Instagram, but
hey, you're just human, yeah.
It's really fun. And then 3rd, they're a little dorky, but I bought those blue light glasses, those blue light blocking glasses. So, well, I don't know if they work or not. What I do notice is that when they go on, and it might be placebo, I do start shutting down. We can get into supplements. There's melatonin supplements. There's CBD supplements. I have plenty of friends we don't do melatonin yet. We don't do CBD. So I can't speak from like a huge amount of data like I can on the nootropics that we do work with. I can say for me, CBD gets me to go to sleep, but I'm sometimes a little groggy in the morning. So experiment. I should like. But okay. Sleep's really important.
Gotcha. And I personally like realized after I got through, waking up like way too early, like I was able to get some good work done in the morning, which was my own work for my own side project. So that was good. But yeah, in the afternoon, I was toast, but luckily that was someone else's work that I was doing for the company, so I was doing just good enough. And, with a corporation, I kind of slipped through the cracks, I'll be honest with you too. But once I started getting more sleep, it's like, wow, I can get so much more done. It's like, night and day. It's amazing. So with the like cold exposure that you were mentioning before and just having it cooler at night, like the cold shower that you're talking about, like how cold are you? I mean, you do this all the time, so you're probably going as cold as you can get in with your cold New York water, right? And then how long are those showers?
Yeah, so I have a pretty fun. So cold showers are not easy. They're going to be super shocking. If you are interested in getting into cold showers, which I highly recommend, it has been it's a really cheap and easy way to get a much better brain function. So I take them in the morning and I take them at night. I take them every morning, and then I take them at night when I have a gut feeling that I'm going to have a hard time falling asleep. So preparing for cold showers, two parts. First part is breath work. So there's a guy, some of you may have heard him. His name is Wim Hof, Wimhof. He's a Dutch guy who has created a breathing protocol that takes about 10 to 12 minutes that you do. It's basically like hyperventilation. I've been studying his method for years, basically hyperventilation. It quickly quickly alkalizes your entire body, or gets oxygen to all parts of your body, and prepares you to go into like an extreme cold situation with a lot more mercy. So look him up on YouTube. Vice did an incredible documentary on him. It's like 20, 25 minutes, I think. It might be a little bit longer, where it gives you like his full story and interviews and all the science behind the efficacy of over oxygenating your body. Secondly, a really simple and easy way to do cold showers. So start really easy, half hot, half cold. Just at the beginning, as long as it's colder than your normal hot shower, you're probably doing good. Here's how you're going to do it. You're going to step out of the main shower. You're going to turn on the cold, right? You're going to go first your right hand. You're going to put your right hand in. With your other hand, you're literally going to just massage the top of your skin. So the shock of a cold shower, the reason that it's so violent, is that your brain interprets the cold as a risk. It feels like your body's under attack, and it cuts off communication with that body part. So basically what you're doing is going limb by limb, and just like a very light massage, what you're doing is keeping that clear communication with your brain, and that pain or that shock that you go into never triggers. So you're going to go literally right arm, left arm, you go like right leg, left leg, you go body, chest, genitals, turn around, you'll do the same thing. As soon as you're done with your whole body, it'll probably be about 30 seconds, 35 seconds, and you're done. That's your cold shower.
Got it. That is, yeah.
A much helpful. Longer explanation than I think you were looking for.
No, that's very good. So detailed, too. You don't want to forget about the genitals. So
you don't want to forget about the genitals.
So that one, I was going to say, I lived in Montana for a few years, and I dabbled with cold showers. The water there is very extremely cold, like out of the tap in the winter. So like I couldn't get like all the way like cold water, because it was like, I mean, I didn't put in enough time. I'm sure it's possible, but it was probably coming out in the like mid 30s. Like it's pretty cold. So
that's super cold. Yeah. In New York, we're probably like high 40s. If I'm like all cold, full blast, it's probably like high 40s. My guess would be. Yeah, because I'll do like cold plunges, and we have like a whole biohacker community here that takes ice baths together, where I know it's in the 30s, and that's a lot more violent than my cold showers.
Gotcha. And now that I say it out loud, I never actually checked, but it was very cold. I'll just put it that way. So
I don't doubt it. Yeah.
All right. So we talked about getting good sleep and just generally like getting the rest. So if a person, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know you brought up like that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock mid-afternoon dive.
Yep.
I've experimented with some ways to avoid that as well. If you want to go into that, if not, totally fine. We can go on your questioning, but I have some good hacks for that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was that was a huge problem in my life, was this fact that every day at 2, 3 o'clock, for some reason, like everything would shut down. I was having dinner with a friend who was a neuroscientist, and basically he starts explaining to me that what you need to understand is that why does your brain and body shut down at that time? And it's basically because it runs out of fuel. And the reason it runs out of fuel is because you fed it too much. I'm cutting to the chase, right? You fed it too much sugar too early on in the day. So right now, what ends up what's very hot are these high-fat diets, right? Ketogenic diet. People may or may not have heard of it. If you're not familiar with ketogenic diet, it's basically a really high-fat diet where you're eating things like avocados and nuts, and you're cooking things in butter. You're eating eggs with yolks. You're eating, steaks with the fat in it. Basically and you're totally removing carbohydrates from your diet, right? What that's doing is it's allowing your body to run entirely on energy produced from fat. So what's the difference between running on energy produced from fat versus running on energy produced from sugar? So energy produced from sugar gives you this really awesome spike. It works very quickly and very efficiently, but it doesn't stick around very long. And then you obviously have those dips, right? Energy from fat is think of it as like this slow trickle of energy. So rather than going up and then crashing down, it's this slow, steady, continuous flow of energy. So converting from a high sugar or carbohydrate diet to a primarily fat-based diet totally did away with all of those mid-afternoon crashes. What also helped was that I started skipping breakfast, a practice called intermittent fasting, where you fit all of your food within an 8-hour window. So now I eat all of my food between 12 noon and 8 p.m. And so what that does is that in the morning, I'm still able to drink coffee and take my nootropics. So I get the energy I need to kickstart my day. I have my first meal about 12:15, 12:30. And then as that fat really starts dripping into my system, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, arguably are some of my most productive moments.
Got it. And we didn't know we were going to talk about this, but you are you're blowing my mind, because I recently got into intermittent fasting a little more seriously, and I feel awesome. I've just had some coffee today and some herbal teas and stuff like that, plus the Clarity blend, the from your package here, and I'm getting so much more done, like I was mentioning, but also the afternoon. It's great. And sometimes I'm experimenting. So I'm pushing my first meal into the 3 o'clock range. So I'll have sort of a lighter meal, really careful. And it's super obvious, by the way, if someone hasn't tried this, it's very obvious that if I have a poorly selected meal, let's say, a big fat sandwich, say a club sandwich or something at lunchtime or something, all the carbs will totally crush me. And now it's so clear why for most of my life up until I was doing this, I was just eating totally the wrong stuff, very little fat. I mean, it's when we grew up, right? It was low fat, you got the pyramid, eat all this bread. I'm thinking pasta is good for me. And as I step back and now we're older, science is a little smarter now. So I feel awesome. The intermittent fasting has been game changer, and I'm how long can I push out my first meal? So anyway,
yeah. So for people who are thinking about trying it, it's not easy. It took me, so best way to start this thing, right? What's the best way to start? In essence, it's skipping breakfast, right? So the goal should be skip breakfast. The technical terms that all of us biohackers use with the eating window and the 16-hour fast, it can be a little daunting. The goal is to skip breakfast. For people like me, it took me 6 months on a ketogenic diet before I was able to skip breakfast because I loved breakfast so much. So intermittent fasting was really, really tough for me. Now on the flip side, I mean, I notice a huge difference on days that I eat early in the day, just on like, I'm just slower and I'm a little heavier. With that being said, if you can just tomorrow morning wake up and say, I'm not going to eat breakfast, I'll have a couple coffees, maybe I'll take some energy supplements just to get me through the day, and I don't have to eat till lunch, boom, you're there. For the population of people who are like, cannot dream about skipping breakfast, here's how you're going to do it. If the ultimate goal is intermittent fasting, basically what you need to do is front load your day with as many fats as you can, right? So if in the journey of starting to fast, the first step is eating as much fat early in the day as you can. So that means whole eggs for breakfast, avocados, cooking things in butter, buying some MCT oil. What that'll do is to train your body over a couple months that it's going to get like slow, steady energy each day. The reason right now you probably have such a hard time skipping breakfast is because your body is just used to these huge energy spikes. And so it doesn't know exactly when it's going to get its next hit. So it's constantly triggering hunger pangs. And so if you can start training it to expect that it's going to get slow, steady energy from fat, it'll be much easier for you to start skipping meals.
Cool. And by the way, yeah, it took me a little while to get into it. And this last time when I actually like ramped it up and, intermittent fasting for longer periods, it was pretty rough. I mean, you feel like you're going to starve to death, but like, you're going to be okay. And I needed to lose a few pounds and I leaned up like pretty quick. It was a long winter and I drank, I think I mentioned alcohol already once. I drink a lot of beer. So like that's non-negotiable generally. But there's a lot of calories.
You should have fun.
What's that?
As you should. Like,
yeah.
You work hard, play hard. It's things that bring you joy.
Yeah. So the beer is in, it's a lot of calories and it sort of violates all the other things that I mentioned, but you're not usually drinking beer in the morning. So,
wait, so tell me, so you're doing 7 days a week you're fasting?
No, it's only been I'm doing like 2 to 4 days, something like that. And on the weekends, my wife and I will go out for breakfast and I'll eat whatever. And I just, I generally will eat what I normally would have had anyway. So I'm trying to really, still enjoy the food that I enjoy. I love pizza. So pizza's a great one for the weekends and having the beers and stuff like that. So
2 to 3 days a week, you're not eating until 2 to 3 o'clock.
Yep, that's right.
And how much weight did you lose?
I think it's been about 6 or 7 pounds or so.
And are you working out, or was it just 2 to 3 days of skipping one meal?
I'm also working out, but about this, I usually work out anyway, so it's roughly the same like activity level, maybe a tiny bit more because I'm not like sort of groggy in the afternoon, so I may be able to get in another. I have a dog, so I walk the dog a lot. So yeah, that generally from the intermittent fasting.
Dude, that's like insane results.
Yeah. Ooh, I've been doing it for a few weeks, so it's
weeks.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Dude, like that's incredible amounts of results for very little amount of work. Like that's like definition of biohacking.
Yeah.
Right. You like same amount of activity. You're only sacrificing 3 of 7 days a week. You're only skipping one meal, and you're seeing physical, like pretty sizable physical. Like you're not how much you're not that big guy. Like 6-7 pounds. Like there's probably a noticeable difference in the way that you look and feel. Dude, that's pretty sick. I'm impressed.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it was, like I said, it was rough for a few days, and then the hard part is like for, the first couple weeks, nothing really happened. And then like something happened after about 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, like the weight just kind of came off. So I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's been good. And like I said, I feel better and all that stuff. So
That's huge. That's huge. And okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's okay. We can go on tangents. Were you gonna say something else?
No, that was it.
All right, cool.
I'm really impressed. I'm
Thank
really
you.
impressed. It makes me want to push it till 2 or 3 o'clock now.
Yeah, and like I said, I realized that when I eat, I was like just slowing down a little bit. So I was like, all right, I'm not gonna eat for a little bit longer until I'm done with what I got to do. So, okay, moving on. I One of the reasons why I ordered from you guys is it made sense to me that there's not like one pill with this generic blend, because I can go down to GNC or I could order from some of the other companies and it's one size fits all, which obviously I know that's not true. You mentioned that yourself. So how did you guys come up with the idea to take the approach of putting together these unique blends and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, it's no mystery. Like, there's more variations in brain chemistry than there are in the rest of the body combined. Um, the note, like if you look at it like totally objectively, the notion of creating a one size fits all like solution for your brain is if Nike just created the Air Jordan 1 in a size 9 and expected everyone, like, it's just not going to happen, right? So like you have to take two things really into consideration when it comes to brain optimization. You have to take, one is like what's your chemistry, like what are the chemicals in your brain, what's your biology going to respond to, and then two, like what's your definition or how does the individual categorize what better brain function is. The reality is like your brain needs different areas to fire on days where you're going to a ton of meetings. You're going to need different area to fire than on days you're sitting in front of your computer and doing creative work, which is a different part of your brain that you're going to need on days that you're sitting in front of a spreadsheet. You're going to need different parts of your brain to work on tasks that you really enjoy and a separate part of your brain to work on tasks that you find really boring. And so we needed to ask those two questions, and we created a product or a company that was able to customize for biology and for objective. And that's the only way for it to work on the vast amount of people. While we were doing all the research, we also tested out all the competitors. And what we found was when we controlled the team, one size fits all supplements by and large work about 50% of the people, 50. So they had about 50% chance that one size fits all supplement is going to connect with your biology. With us, after going through a month, we can find at least one formula that works with 87% of our customers. So the efficacy just goes from 50% to nearly 90%, just by introducing this variation.
Gotcha. And so for me specifically, I've had, there's four blends. What are they again?
The four that you got?
Right. Yeah,
Do you have them in front of you?
I do. So it's creativity, clarity, energy, and logic. And my question is like how they all seem fine to me. I didn't have any like ill effects from any of them. I felt like I could focus a little better after taking any of them. I've taken notes, so a little bit of a journal to make sure I know what I took, when I can look back on what I did those days and that sort of thing. But like how can someone quantify or know that a certain blend is working well for them?
So the first thing to remember is in our process, it's just as important for someone to identify what doesn't work as it is what does work. You know, the likelihood that every blend is going to, or every formula is going to connect with every single person is just an unrealistic expectation. Not even like some of the blends in your box, like, don't work for me. They just don't match with my biology. So that's one. Two is, the way that I look at it is I set a very specific objective. I'm a big productivity guy. So with me, it's productivity and like creativity are the two things that I generally will be able to measure, and the two most important things that I take nootropics for. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to tell on days where I'm just like crushing my to-do list, right? And for me, a lot of the time, it's like, how quickly can I transition from task to task in the shortest amount of time possible? So I noticed in a prior company, I was the CEO of another company, and a big issue that I had, and this is actually when I first found nootropics, a big issue that I had was that people would pop into my office and ask me questions, and I would help them. And then to recalibrate and go back to what it was that I was doing would take so much time. And I measured it. It would actually take me 15 minutes every time someone like popped in for a got a minute meeting for me to go back to my original task. And it would happen, I averaged it out at between 5 and 6 times a day. We had a pretty big staff. Totally acceptable. That's what I was there for. I'm there for got a minute meetings. However, that was an hour to an hour and a half a day of just recalibrating. So that means that's 6 hours a week, arguably 6 hours a week. And across a year, I was making a good amount of money. That was costing my company a lot of money. Enter my first nootropic stack that I did on my own as like a rogue biohacker. I was able to get that recalibration time from 15 minutes to 2 minutes. Right? So basically I was able to, when I was on proper nootropics, someone would pop into my office, we'd do whatever it is we do, and then I'd be able to sink back in to deep work on whatever it was I was doing in 2 minutes. I mean, just that was the game changer for me. That's when I fell in love with nootropics. 6 months later, I started my own nootropics company. Like that's what an insane impact that had on my life. Just this ability to transition quickly from task to task to task. So for me, a nootropic that works for me is going to increase my productivity. Second is creativity. I do a ton of talking. I'm out, meeting with partners and working with people, and I do a lot of face-to-face interactions, and like my happiness quotient is based primarily on my ability to connect with people and have like really rich, engaging, loving conversations. And so a lot of that has to do with like, am I able to channel the right words? Am I able to verbalize what it is that I'm thinking? Am I able to come up with fun ideas or good ideas or say something funny at a moment's notice? And so a good nootropic for me is going to do one of those two things.
Got it. Interesting. And that's amazing, the task switching and recovery period, because that really that really gets me, especially working from home. The interruptions can really take me off task, and then there were times when I used to spiral just out of control and like lose the day, right? Maybe if you're not getting enough rest, you're a little grouchy, like you get interrupted and it's like, like what am I going to do? And then, that's amazing. So I'm rambling on now, but very cool.
No, and like for everyone, and it's not always going to be as obvious as it is to me, right? But anyone who's trying nootropics for the first time should have like a quantifiable way to tell if it's working or not. Listen, if you're taking a and one of our nootropics is really great to take before the gym. Listen, it's something you can tell right away. Like, you're in the gym, you take our energy nootrop, our energy stack is like our best quote unquote pre-workout, or like something that people take before training. That's really easy to tell, right? You took the energy stack, you went into the gym. Were you faster? Did you last longer? And were you stronger? Then it works. But a lot of the things that we're taking in for work-based optimization, sometimes it's a little bit tougher. And I can't pretend to sit here and have the answer for exactly how to measure for every individual person. But it's a question that we can all ask ourselves. How are you thinking about this? So as you're going through your first month here, you're, obviously happy. How do you know you're happy with this stuff?
It's been a little bit tough, which is, part of the reason I asked the question, but I was trying to take the right supplement or nootropic for the activity that I was going to do. So the other day, for example, I was writing a long blog post. I knew what I was going to be writing from, days before, which is always helpful from a productivity standpoint. I knew what I was going to work on. And I believe I took the creativity. Do you call it a blend? Is that what you call it?
Blend. Well, we call it formula.
Formula. Stick with the brand. Yeah. So the creativity formula, and I felt awesome writing. I didn't get distracted, number one, and I was able to get my ideas out. And I wrote, I think, about 1,500 words in about 90 minutes, which is a lot for me. I know some writers can really churn it out, but I get pulled off task all the time. But I think a couple things were in play there where I knew what I was going to write, and I took hopefully the proper formula there. And then by the time I finished, I was like, that went well. I got more than I expected done. I would have been happy with 500 words. So that's one just snapshot. Another time, it's been actually most of the time it's a lot more of a just, I guess, subjective. So maybe I'm going to be working on some spreadsheets, right? So doing my books or something like that. So I will take the logic formula, which I think probably aligns for spreadsheets. And, I may or may not notice anything specific, but I finished what I intended in roughly the amount of time. So a lot of times I will underestimate how long it takes me to do something. Potentially it's because of distractions and going off task, or my phone buzzes and something happens, but it could be, I was focused, I took the proper formula, and I was working on the right task for it. So is that the right approach, sort of?
Yeah. It actually reminds me. So my 76-year-old father takes formula, and he asked me the exact same question last week, because we're going through him and we're going through like a really intense like optimization process with him, just because he's my dad, and it's a fun way to connect with him. And he's really trying to figure out, like, how do I measure if these things work or not? Like, how do I score it? And he's taking really good notes. And what we ended up netting it out to be was how content is he on his trip home from work each evening. So the line of questioning basically started out was like, how do you know when you have a crappy day? How do you know, like, when does it register that you are really frustrated? And he's like, it's like these trips home in the car, 6-7 o'clock. He owns a small business, local business in the town that we grew up in. And he's like, there's these moments in the car where you just have this feeling like you just didn't get it done. Like, it's just like this frustration, this anxiety, this like feeling. And I was like, well, that's what that's what the nootropics are there for. Like, that's your motivation for taking these, is to avoid that moment at 7 o'clock or 6:30 every day when you're in the car listening to the radio and you just felt like, so let's figure out how many days a week you have that feeling and how many days you don't have that feeling. If there's more days that you don't have that feeling than you do, then the nootropics are working, right? Because it's going to be different with everyone, right? Like, he's 76 years old, right? Like, he's been working for 50 years more, right? Like, how much more productive is he going to be?
Right.
You know, he's there's no way, you know, he can work the way that I work, or he's going to be able to accomplish what the goal with him is that one moment during the day where he just like has that feeling of accomplishment. And the more that I look at it with me, it's the same, right? There's these days at night when I'm cooking dinner where I just know, like, I didn't get enough done today. I was just, I don't feel complete. And then there's days where I'm like, man, I crushed today. I feel so complete. Like, I could have left the office 2 hours early and still been great.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect. Because, like, I was going to say, talking to my wife, yeah, how's your day? Blah, blah, blah. I crushed it today. I got so much done faster than I thought. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's it. Like, that, you nailed it. You and your dad nailed that. Yeah.
And I think, like, yeah, so that's how you're going to know. That's how you're going to know if these nootropics are working. How many days a month is that feeling there? And then as we go on and as we continue to optimize for you, we'll be able to, like, really hone down on specific, like, you know, some people use Pomodoros or, you know, like, really ways on measuring, like, specific productivity tasks. But for right now, at least in these first couple months, it's going to be like, do I feel complete? Do I feel content?
Got it. Very good. So let's, we'll start wrapping up. I know we're going a little long here, but got a couple sort of quick hit questions here. So for the people that are maybe concerned about taking nootropics and they're not sure if it's safe, what can you tell them to make them feel a little more comfortable to try it out?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to the biggest safety skeptic that there is. I've asked all the questions since the beginning. In reality, any nootropic we have built, specifically us, I can speak for us, I can't speak for everybody else. For us, we have put together a board of MDs and PhDs from Yale, MIT, Stanford, Penn, who have put together a code of ethics that all of our ingredients go through. So anything that we use is either FDA approved or has gone through phase 3 clinical trials. The way that we've tested 127 different ingredients. The formulas that we use now use much fewer than 127 unique ingredients. The ingredients that we use now, we use because they had the highest efficacy scores. So the most people reported that they delivered what they wanted it to deliver, and they had the lowest side effects profiles. So they had the least amount of side effects. So there are ingredients that you can take that have, better results, but come with side effects. We don't use those. And then there's ingredients that you can take, like multivitamins, that have no side effects, but you don't feel them. That they're not going to give you the measurable results. With that being said, there are occurrences. There are some ingredients that that you might get, and you might experience a headache. You might experience a little upset stomach. On a case-by-case basis, that might mean that you remove those from what it is that you do. You stop using them. In other cases, after 1 or 2 times taking it, that kind of goes away. But there is a risk that there might be some headaches or upset stomachs. I'm not going to sit here and say that there isn't. But by and large, we take safety incredibly serious. And we use only ingredients that are very, very well researched by us and by our doctors, but also by third parties.
Got it. And on a similar note, one may be tempted to take nootropics every day, all the time. Like, what do you do, Adam? Like how often? How many days?
So I take them 5 to 6 times a week. Um, Here's the reality. The human body gets used to stuff. Attenuation is real. I can't sit here and tell you, oh, we have these magic pills and your body's not going to get used to it. Your body has the ability to adapt to things. So here's how you overcome like your body getting used to it or attenuating. One, you constantly vary what it is. You're not taking the same supplements every single day. So you have 2, 3 different formulas that you switch in day out. You're not taking the same thing every day. 2, take a couple days off, right? I take at least 1, sometimes 2 days off every month. And that's just in hopes that these formulas work for me for longer. I have several people who use formula on an emergency case. So it's like we have plenty of customers who get a new box not every month but every 2 or 3 months, and then they only take them on days after they had a really bad night's sleep, or they only take them on days that they have like a really big meeting, or they only take them like a break in case of emergency tool, and that's totally fine too. I personally integrate nootropics each day that I work, but some people just use them when they want them.
Okay, and you say 5 to 6 days, right? So is that like a formula in the morning and a formula in the afternoon, or just one, or whatever you need for that day?
Yeah. So I am a 1 pack a day guy. We do have also everything that we make is specifically engineered to be safe up to 2 packs a day. So if you can show people, I don't have any in front of me, but it's basically these white pill packs. There's between 2 and 6 different capsules in each pack. They are all designed to be able to be mixed and matched opportunistically. So we have a lot of people who take, perfect. We have a lot of people who take one in the morning, and then if they'll take another one after lunch. And that would, that gives you you're cooking for 12 to 15 hours. You're feeling really, really good. Me personally, most days I'm taking one in the morning, and that lasts me until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Perfect. Okay. And I was going to say, I have been taking 2, and one pretty early in the morning and then one sort of in the afternoon. Seems fine. There may have been a couple days where I had too much coffee, during the day as well, or too late in the afternoon, and then maybe I didn't fall asleep as well, or it could have been, obviously there's so many variables for every person that maybe I ate too much dinner or something like that, and it was just a little full. But yeah, okay, just trying to figure out where I am on the spectrum, and that's good to hear. So you're good to go with 1 formula per day. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I also do, admittedly, I over coffee, for sure, over coffee.
Love it.
I drink. Yeah, I just do. I just love it. I love coffee.
Yeah. It smells good. It tastes good. I want to have that. So
social and I do it, drink it on all my meetings.
Yeah.
It just happens, man.
So any other tips or anything specific you want to share just in general before we wrap it up here?
I make myself available.
Cool.
I am by no means the be all end all, but I really enjoy and spend a lot of time experimenting with ways to be more productive. And so, people can reach out to me. It's adam@findmyformula.com. I'm always down to, trade secrets or trade war stories with anyone, or I'm also the one most of the time who's monitoring our Instagram, so it's @findmyformula. You can drop us a DM. And more than happy to help any which way, whether it's helping navigate the nootropicosphere or some other fun techniques that we've done, or even if I can just be of moral support as someone's going through, experimenting with cold showers or experimenting with intermittent fasting or needs help with some fun keto products. Or if you're in the New York area and you want to work out, I'm always down for a new workout buddy.
Right on. Well, thanks a lot. We'll obviously put links for everything so it'll be easy for folks to find. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave comments below and I'll help, make sure we get answers to folks if they have them. And if you're listening on the podcast, of course, you can check out the show notes. And like I said, I'll link up everything for Adam and find my formula.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adam. Have a good day.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot to Adam, and really appreciate you taking the time. Again, I enjoy the formula products quite a bit, and I'm making it part of my daily and weekly schedule. I think at this point in time, I'm taking something, whatever it is I'm working on, I'm taking something from my formula packages, probably 4 times a week or so. So when I first got the first month, I was taking 1 to 2 packs a day for 5 days a week. And I've sort of tapered down based on my energy level. And then I'm trying not to overdo it, basically. So it was pretty fun at first. And then at times I realized maybe I had too much coffee and an energy formula packet. So anyway, check it out if you're interested. Thanks again to Adam, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.